PlayStation 4 has officially sold over 7 million units, continuing its streak as the best-selling console in the history of the industry after 6 months.
Damn.
These numbers represent consoles sold to consumers and not shipped numbers. To contrast, Microsoft announced that it has shipped to retailers 5 million Xbox Ones, meaning that they have probably sold around 4.5 million to consumers. However, context is important. Xbox One is the third quickest-selling console in industry history, behind Nintendo's Wii. In other words, console gaming is very healthy. So yeah, it's just a bad time at Microsoft because they're doing really well, but PlayStation
It doesn't look as well as it is, or as good as it is.
I've been looking at the lifetime ship numbers for all these consoles, man. Like they're, it's something like, I want to say after 6 months, PS3, 360 came out in 2005, PS3 came out a year later. If you take the first 6 months of each of their time on the market and combine them, and then take the first 6 months of Xbox One and PS4, these consoles are doing about 60% better.
Damn.
Yeah, and that's amazing against what's been moderate launch libraries. There's certainly things to play on both of them, but there hasn't been that must-have thing yet. So I'm really, except maybe Resogun, which is so rad. But yeah, it's surprising to see that. I'm happy for that.
Why? Why is it happening this time? Why is it so successful? What's happening?
I don't know. I feel like, there are many reasons, and I'm not sure which one it might be. To me, I feel like there was a malaise at the beginning of the Xbox 360 and PS3 era because of two reasons. One, PS2 was selling so well, and it seemed like there was no PS2 sold 152 million units. Nothing is ever going to sell that well in the console space. Obviously, handhelds, I think DS actually passed it. So I think people were kind of holding on to the PS2. The PS2 had the DVD player, had all these things. People didn't feel like they needed these new consoles at the time, and then they kind of snowballed towards the end. And the other thing is the numbers were spiked because of Wii. Wii was very popular, 100.8 million units sold, extremely popular. So I think that makes it like the third best-selling console of all time behind PS2 and PS1. So that's an extraordinary number, but the attach rate on Wii was low, and Wii kind of burned a lot of people. There was no games for people to play on it. You had to wait. You had to be patient for the games that you really wanted to play.
Especially late in its lifespan.
Right, exactly. They just abandoned it. So I think people were hungry and eager, and I think that a lot of it is a rubber band effect from Wii U sales, and everyone was saying, like, man, console gaming is done. Like, look at the Wii U, and I'm like, no. Like, I think people were waiting for the hardcore media center kind of console with games and entertainment options, and it's new, and it's pretty, and it works well, and it's fast and powerful.
And you nailed it when you said hungry, man. I mean, it had been a long spell between that generation and this one. It's been a long time. We've had, console cycles are getting longer and longer. The last generation lasted a very long time. And I think people were just thirsty for something new. They were ready, man.
Yeah.
I was. I wanted to see these things come out. I was just thrilled.
Like when we talked to them about PlayStation Move, right, and how it works with the VR headset, and they talked about PlayStation Move really being Gen 1, right? And now they iterate for Gen 2. It's built in your controller. You don't think about it. I kind of see PlayStation 4 as like the Gen 2 PS3, right? Hey, here's this PS3, and it's going to get online. You're going to download games. It's not going to do any of that really well. And then you jump to PS4, and it's like, we learned from our mistakes. Here's this better machine, right? They talked about it, dropping the cell and doing this and going to devs. I think that's an exciting message that, hey, we've learned from our mistakes. Let's get on board with this.
Yeah. All I'm excited about is that these numbers, I really doubt PlayStation 4 can sustain these numbers. I think that when you look at the arc on the graphs, the Wii is eventually going to pass the PS4 because the Wii had this huge 2-year momentum where like they just couldn't be found. I don't think the PS4 has that in it. Like, so these numbers
are people still struggling to find them in stores? Is that a thing?
I think it is somewhere, but you can go online and buy it. Like, you could never do that with the Wii. Like, and the Wii stuff we've said before, artificial scarcity and all that kind of stuff, but it worked. And when you saw one, I saw two, and I bought myself one, and then I saw another one like a few months later, and I just bought it.
Yeah,
right.
I walked into a Target and saw one, and I was like, I felt like I'd encountered Jesus in the parking lot. I was like, this is not possible.
It's brilliant. It's a brilliant strategy, and the whole Blue Ocean thing for them was an interesting strategy that kind of backfired on them now. But and you should read about the Blue Ocean strategy. It's very, very interesting. It's not a Nintendo strategy that they made up. They actually it's a book. Anyway. So yeah, I think these numbers will relax. I think I wrote a piece last week that did really well actually about PlayStation 4's winning the war. But to not count Xbox out, that I think Xbox's announced games, Xbox One's announced games, Sunset Overdrive, Halo 2 Anniversary is largely rumored, I'm sure real. They have Project Spark and Quantum Break and all these games. Their library is actually much stronger than PS4's library later this year and into next year. I'm sure Sony has all these games that we don't know about. We'll get to that in a minute. But I would not count them out.
Oh, no,
by any stretch of the imagination.
Microsoft, they're not happy to be behind Sony, but I'm sure they're very happy to see millions and millions of consoles sold in this this cycle already. I don't think they're worried at all.
No, perception is reality for them. But
you put out a good tweet the other day that, and for something along the lines of, a hungry enemy is the most dangerous enemy, right? I mean, E3 is going to be really interesting to see like what Microsoft comes out and says at their press conference and what Sony does as well.
Look what Sony did to Microsoft. Everyone just like let's not have our memories like get too short. Like PlayStation 3 was getting destroyed by Xbox 360. Like it wasn't even close, and the numbers were like much worse than this. And Sony over time, 2009 with Slim, 2010 with the games, Uncharted, all like even games like Starhawk and Twisted Metal, like they were showing their willingness to release these games. And they are going to pass Xbox 360 if they haven't already in worldwide numbers. Like, that took time. The numbers aren't that staggered here. And Microsoft's not stupid. Like they have games. They realized too late that their strategy for Xbox One was wrong, and yet they still sold 5 million units.
Colin, one last question for you about this, if you don't mind. How's price going to affect this? Now, you point out again and again that games are cheaper than they've ever been, consoles are cheaper than they've ever been. But we are in the middle of a recession, and Microsoft's console is $100 more than PlayStation 4's. Are we going to see an adjustment to that anytime soon?
Yeah, they're going to. My prediction is they will lose Kinect, and I think you will see a Kinect-less Xbox One at E3. At E3.
At E3. Yeah. Okay, you said at E3, and then I
$399. Like I think Sony did the same thing. Like we broke the story that before PS4 came out that Sony was going to bundle PlayStation Eye or PlayStation Camera with the PS4, and they were like, we can't because we have to like undercut Microsoft.
Yeah.
And so they were just like, whatever, and they just put it on the side. The same thing's going to happen with Kinect. The only way to get the price down and for them to like at least break even or not lose too much money on every console sold is to get rid of Kinect. And if Xbox One is at $399, that changes everything.
Oh yeah.
And $100 is a lot of money. That's a game and a half, or a game and a PlayStation Plus subscription, or 10 digital games,
groceries for a week,
yeah, or things that you need to survive in real life things. So they'll change the game. I would be shocked if they don't remove Kinect from Xbox One. I'm sure it'll still be available if you want it, but it's not integral at all or essential at all to that experience.
What will Rare do with their time?